make sure I've got the best route.
But better mapping that can integrate topography, infrastructure, and density is only part of the answer. Another key to improving transport efficiency is building cars that drive themselves.
Autonomous vehicle technology has a tremendous potential to improve efficiency of our road infrastructure.
By removing humans from the equation, we eliminate all the things we do wrong behind the wheel. Speeding, changing lanes too often, merging haphazardly. And by marrying autonomous vehicles with sophisticated 3D maps, we can make driving safer and more energy efficient. That next generation vehicle is being built right now by the Swedish trucking company, Scania.
The solution, as you see it, is that the vehicles can utilize intelligent maps, three-dimensional maps with traffic information. The vehicles will be intelligent and communicate with each other. They will talk to each other, they will talk to the infrastructure. And we will see completely autonomous driven vehicles.
The goal was to have multiple robots and see if they could go 60 miles fully autonomously.
My name's Helen Taylor. My husband John and I were very passionate about fuel economy.
Yeah, it's great to break world records, but that's not the be-all and end-all now. It's more important to educate people.
Together we're showing drivers around the world simple techniques to improve their fuel efficiency.
We run these education programs, get people on the road with us, and we finally tweak their driving techniques. Things like just checking your tyre pressures before you even get into your car. For every 1 PSI your tyres are underinflated, you're wasting 3% of your fuel efficiency. And the difference between 65 and 75 miles per hour, there's a saving of 23%. When you talk to the general public, they're very surprised that an energy company like Shell is trying to educate people how to save money, how to reduce CO2 emissions.
And here we have Shell sending us around the world to do that.
You always hope when you're on this planet that you can make a real difference in people's lives. When you get emails from people saying, I've saved this amount of money this year, now I can put food on the table, then you know you are really making a difference.
By displaying traffic density in the urban infrastructure in a revolutionary way, 3D digital maps will help create a more fuel-efficient future. But these technologies are limited by the drivers who sit behind the wheel. Some believe that for cars and trucks to be truly energy efficient, they will need to drive themselves.
The technology is coming into play through sensors and capabilities for cars to drive autonomously.
In 2007, the United States Department of Defense held a competition to see if a completely autonomous, self-driving vehicle was possible.
DARPA stands for the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. They held a competition to develop self-driving robots that could drive themselves in traffic. The goal was to have multiple robots, turn them loose on a course, and see if they could go 60 miles in 6 hours fully autonomously.
Driving may be one of the most complex things we do every day. Drivers make dozens of decisions at any given moment. One study found that drivers were exposed to over 1,300 items of information per minute.
We make so many decisions when we're driving without even thinking about it. So in creating our vehicle, a great component of the enterprise was developing software to handle lots of sensors, feeding lots of data, and generating a bunch of potential paths that the vehicle might follow. And even though the robot doesn't have the ability to predict the future, by using this fast random path generation, the robot could anticipate a potential accident and choose a path to avoid it, because it's always thinking about what things could the car do next.
No one expects millions of cars driving themselves anytime soon. But there is a place where self-navigating technologies are being optimized to create the vehicle of the future.
We are on the Scania test track outside Stockholm, where we have basically, it looks like a highway, but it's a separate test track where we conduct our own experiments.
Scania, the Swedish trucking company, has recently begun testing its next generation of long-haul truck. Utilizing radar, sonar, and intelligent mapping, they've been able to drastically reduce fuel consumption.
We have this example with platooning, where we make use of the reduction in air resistance or air drag that you get from driving close to each other with heavy-duty vehicles. And in order to control this, you need to know where the other vehicles are, where their position, their velocity, their actions in the near future. And to be very close to the vehicle ahead of you requires that you have very accurate control.
If you look at robotics broadly, there's a wonderful set of research on people looking at schooling of fish and trying to develop the ability for robots to work together like that. So there are wonderful examples from nature of how cooperation can lead to more efficient resource utilization.
You can see it when people are competing in Tour de France. They platoon to reduce air drag. They are not bicycling behind each other that close because it's fun or because they are racing. It is because they are reducing air drag, sitting behind the man who is leading.
A truck traveling 55 miles per hour expends half its energy just to move the air around it. At 65 miles per hour, that number jumps to almost 2/3. Even if platooning can reduce the energy used by 10%, the savings would be substantial.
If a vehicle in front of another vehicle wants to brake, it immediately sends out the brake message to the other vehicles. So they actually brake at the same time.
The way we do this is we have an automated system. So now, for instance, if I take my feet off the acceleration pedal and turn the system on, the velocity is automatically governed by getting information from the vehicle ahead through its wireless system. We want these vehicles to maintain a short relative distance. So through this system, we can reduce the fuel consumption by utilizing the air drag reduction by 10%. And 10% would mean you will be able to save approximately 8,000 euros per single heavy-duty vehicle per year.
It may be some time before autonomous vehicles make up the majority of cars on America's highways. Nevertheless, some of these technologies are already making their way into our lives.
Now, this polar baby wants to sleep. Do you get to pick up books every day, or is it just something
I get to pick out books sometimes.
Okay.
When we look toward the future, the systems will absolutely make it safer and more efficient and less costly for you, and also make your life easier because you're spending less time on the roads.
The city begins to talk, begins to tell you where is there congestion, what's going on in different areas of town. Suddenly, the car becomes a part of a much bigger ecosystem. We can look at how cars interact with other cars, how car interacts with infrastructure, and us, the drivers, can start to make smart decisions about how to move around. Suddenly, mobility becomes a whole other thing.
No matter how much money they have, no matter how much oil they have, everybody has to go in a different direction.
We've seen that changing the way we drive can improve transportation efficiencies. But what if we change the way we build and live in our cities? That's the subject of our next story, Searching for Utopia. We'll travel to the United Arab Emirates and discover a city rising out of the desert. Let's take a look.
From the beginning, we've dreamed of utopia. A place where we could live in harmony with each other and in balance with nature. Many have imagined it, tried to design it, but the dream always slipped away. I heard they were building a new city